AITA for rejecting my wife who abandoned me, then came back for my millions? I, a 37-year-old man, and my wife Laura, a 35-year-old woman, had been married for 9 years and had 2 children, our son Owen, who was 8, and our daughter Lily, who was 5. Even though our marriage had its ups and downs, I thought we were doing well. But the truth came to light when my father, who had been battling kidney problems for years, began to get worse. My father was a strong man, both physically and emotionally. He built a custom carpentry and woodworking business from scratch that over the years became a well-known name in our local area outside Atlanta. On the other hand, I followed a different path. I was always passionate about technology and graduated with a degree in software engineering. This created some tension between us. My father wanted me to take over the family business, but I wanted to build something of my own. After college, I got a job at a tech company in the Atlanta area. I bought my own house at 30 and lived an independent life. Despite our differences, I always respected my father, even when he disinherited me after I rejected his offer to run the business. When my mother passed away 5 years ago due to a heart attack, my father was devastated. He lost his lifelong partner, and I felt I needed to be more present for him. I started visiting him frequently and bringing the kids over to brighten his days. However, my wife always avoided joining us. She claimed my mother had been too controlling and that my family did not respect us. After my mother's passing, Laura distanced herself even more from the idea of us having any kind of closeness with my father. Over the past 2 years, my father's health worsened. He needed dialysis twice a week and could no longer drive. We hired a home health aide to help him at home, but my father frequently asked me to accompany him to his dialysis sessions. To me, it was the least I could do for him. I organized my routine. On Wednesdays, I left work early to take him, and on Saturdays, my day off, I made sure to set aside time to be with him. My boss was understanding, as I had been with the company for more than 10 years and had a reputation as a dedicated employee. However, Laura did not handle this change well. From the beginning, she made passive-aggressive comments about the time I spent with my father. Why are you wasting your Wednesdays and Saturdays with him? He does not even care about you. He disinherited you, remember? She would say things that hurt me deeply. It was not just a lack of empathy. It was obvious selfishness. I tried to explain to her that I was not doing it for money or an inheritance. I was doing it because he was my father. At first, I tried to deal with her resistance. I offered to make it up on other days by helping with the kids or doing more chores around the house, but nothing was enough. On Saturdays, she insisted on making last-minute plans, knowing I would not be able to participate. Whether it was a family outing to the park with the kids or something as simple as running errands, she used any excuse to back me into a corner. Little by little, that started to affect the time I had with my father. I began to feel constantly pressured, rushing to get back home and avoid arguments. Wednesdays were even worse. Laura started going out with friends or visiting relatives, leaving me in charge of the kids as soon as I got home from work. I had to cook, take care of the house, and still make up for the lost hours at work. There were nights when I barely slept trying to balance it all. I was exhausted, but I saw no other way out. My father needed me, and I refused to let him deal with this alone. Things began to escalate when she started involving the kids. I heard Laura tell Owen that his grandfather was a difficult man and that his father was wasting time with him instead of being with the family. That infuriated me. I tried to confront her, but she just laughed. "They need to know the truth," was what she replied. Despite that, I stood firm in my decision. My father needed me, and I was determined to be there for him. But that did not stop Laura. Her outbursts and arguments continued to escalate every week. It was like walking on a minefield. One day, when I returned from dialysis, she gave me an ultimatum. "Either your father or me." I looked at her in disbelief. "Laura, he is my father. He is dying. How can you be so insensitive?" She simply crossed her arms and replied, "He is already out of the will. Why are you wearing yourself out for someone who will not leave you anything?" I took a deep breath and answered with all the calm I could muster. "If you really think I am doing this for money, you do not know me. I choose my father." She stormed out of the room, and the next day she took the kids and went to her mother's house. I did not try to stop her. I needed time to process what was happening. At that moment, my priority was my father and my children. She could stay away for as long as she wanted. The days after Laura left the house were chaotic, but somehow peaceful. She took the kids to her mother's house, leaving me alone to organize my thoughts and focus on my father. I called Owen and Lily every night, but Laura limited the conversations and always seemed ready to argue. I avoided unnecessary confrontations, knowing they would only harm my children. My routine was now clearer. I could dedicate all the time my father needed for his dialysis sessions without hearing complaints or facing crises at home. It seemed cruel to admit it, but Laura's absence brought an unexpected peace. I took care of work, household chores, and above all, my father's well-being. He noticed that something had changed. "Laura is causing you a lot of problems, isn't she?" he asked me one day while I was taking him to the dialysis center. I replied with a tired smile. "She is at her parents' house for now." He sighed, and for the first time in a long time, he put his hand on my shoulder. "You are doing a lot for me, son. Do not let this destroy you." Those words touched my heart. My father, who had always been a tough and critical man, was beginning to realize how hard I was trying. That gave me the strength to keep going. Meanwhile, Laura began to show her true intentions. Although she told friends and family that she had left because I prioritized my father over her, the rumors started reaching me. She was saying that it was not worth staying married to me if my father had already disinherited me. It was hard to hear those things, but I chose to focus on what really mattered, my father and my children. One night, after weeks of not seeing the kids, I decided to visit Owen and Lily. I bought ice cream on the way to my mother-in-law's house, anxious to spend time with them. When I arrived, Owen hugged me tightly, but Lily seemed confused. My mother-in-law, on the other hand, barely hid her disgust. "You finally decided to pay attention to the kids," she said in a sarcastic tone. I took a deep breath and ignored the comment. I knew Laura had probably twisted the story for her mother, but when I was about to leave, something Owen said broke my heart. "Daddy, Mommy said you do not love us anymore." "Is it true?" I wanted to scream, but I knelt down, looked him in the eyes, and calmly replied, "That will never be true, son. I love you more than anything. I will always want you with me." Owen smiled, but Lily remained confused. I decided I needed to bring them back home. It was unfair for them to be in the middle of this dispute. A month after Laura left, I received the divorce papers. It was not a surprise, but the moment I opened the envelope felt strange. There were no requests for alimony or division of assets. She did not even ask for custody of the children. This relieved me, but it also angered me. How could she give up her children so easily? I signed the papers that same day and sent them back. I made no attempt at reconciliation, which apparently infuriated her. She called me 2 days later, screaming over the phone. "How could you just sign without fighting for me, without trying to save the marriage?" I laughed in disbelief. "Laura, you left me. Did you want the divorce you were waiting for so badly?" She started crying, saying she thought I would beg her to come back. Her mother took the phone and started yelling at me, saying I was not a real man for not trying to save the relationship. I hung up. There was nothing more to say. After that, Laura completely disappeared. She did not call anymore. She did not look for the kids. It was as if she had cut all ties with our family. Even though it was devastating for Owen and Lily, I realized we were better off this way. With the divorce finalized and custody of the kids formally with me, I began to organize our lives in a new way. I decided it would be best for all of us to move into my father's house. He had a full-time caregiver, which meant she could help supervise the kids while I worked. Besides, being close to their grandfather seemed to bring joy to my children. When I told my father about the plan, he was thrilled. "It will be good to have a full house again. I want to spend as much time as possible with you guys." The move was a success. Owen and Lily loved the room I prepared for them, and my father started spending his days playing with them, laughing like he had not in a long time. I also felt more connected to him. The conversations during the trips to dialysis went back to being about our lives and memories, and I could see that, despite his weakened health, he was happy. Of course, it did not take long for Laura to find out about our move. I suspected someone from her family had informed her, but I no longer cared. We were starting over, and there was no room for her in our new routine. The weeks turned into months, and our life finally found a balance. The kids seemed happier. My father was comfortable, and I managed to handle everything with the help of the caregiver, but deep down I knew my time with him was running out. One night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat next to my father and asked him, "Are you happy, Dad?" He smiled, taking my hand. "More than ever, son. You are the best thing I have ever done in my life." Those words stayed with me, echoing in my mind even after I said good night to him that evening. The routine was beginning to stabilize, but I knew my father was growing weaker each week. Even with all the care he received, the physical toll was evident. One day, during an appointment, the doctor asked me to prepare for the worst. It felt like taking a punch to the stomach, but I knew I was doing everything possible to ensure my father's last days were filled with love and comfort. One night, after a day full of playing with the kids, my father went to sleep early. Before going up to my room, I stopped by his room to say goodnight. He smiled at me and said, "Son, you are the best decision I have ever made in my life. Take care of the kids and never forget what you are capable of." He seemed so at peace that I did not worry. The next morning, the caregiver woke me up with tears in her eyes. My father had passed away in his sleep. The shock washed over me, even though I knew this moment was inevitable. I called the doctor, who confirmed that he had passed peacefully, without pain. I cried like I never had before, but I also felt a sense of relief knowing he had spent his last months happy, surrounded by his family. The kids were devastated. Owen, being the oldest, managed to understand what had happened, but Lily had a hard time processing it. I spent the following days comforting them and organizing the funeral. The service was simple but beautiful, exactly how he would have liked it. During the burial, I placed a photo of my mother next to him, something he always said he wanted. After the funeral, a family lawyer contacted me. He told me he needed to meet with me to discuss the will. At first, I refused, believing there was nothing to discuss, since my father had left everything to charity. But the lawyer insisted, and I finally agreed. In the office were the lawyer and representatives of the charity my father had chosen to take over the business and his fortune. I was ready to sign whatever documents were necessary to officially transfer the assets, but the lawyer seemed hesitant. "David, your father did something you might not have expected," he began with a discreet smile. He opened the will and started reading it out loud. To my surprise, my father had left everything to me. The house, the business, his savings, everything was now mine. When the lawyer finished reading, I was in a state of shock. "But he disinherited me years ago," I muttered, trying to understand. The lawyer smiled slightly. "That was just a bluff. He never altered the will. From the beginning, you were his sole heir. He knew your heart was in the right place, even when you decided to pursue your own career." I broke down right then and there. It was not the assets that moved me, but the thought that my father had never truly given up on me. All the arguments, all the years of tension, everything seemed so small compared to the love and respect he had always held for me. The charity representatives seemed genuinely happy for me. The lawyer explained that I had the option to continue with the donation of the business to them or take it back under my control. This left me torn. My father had placed his trust in me, and the decision to give the business back to the organization or run it personally felt enormous. I told him I needed time to think. I returned home with a heavy heart and shared the news with Owen and Lily. I explained to them that Grandpa had left something special for us and that we needed to honor his memory. They, being children, did not fully understand it, but the idea that Grandpa was still watching over us made them happy. The days that followed were full of reflection. I started looking into my father's old business and realized he had created something truly special. It was more than just a source of income. It was a legacy. I decided I would take back control of the company and try to honor his life's work. Although I had no direct experience in the industry, I hired specialists to help me manage the day-to-day details. This way, I could learn and, at the same time, make the transition responsibly. At the same time, I started adjusting our life at home. I used part of the inheritance to ensure the kids had everything they needed, from a good education to the extracurricular activities they had always wanted. I also hired extra help to make sure there was support at home while I learned to manage the company. It was around this time that Laura reappeared. One day, I heard a knock at the door. When I opened it, there she was, Laura, alongside her parents. They were all dressed up, with looks of fake sympathy. "David, we heard about your father. We are so sorry for your loss. If we had known, we would have attended the funeral," Laura began with fake tears in her eyes. I stayed silent for a few seconds, letting the uncomfortable atmosphere fill the space. Finally, I asked, If you really cared, why did not you try to contact me sooner? Laura tried to deflect the conversation, saying she had driven by our old house and saw it empty, but did not know where I was. Of course, it was a lie. If she really cared about Owen and Lily, she would have done more than knock on a closed door. But in that moment, I realized her true intentions. She started talking about reconciliation, saying the kids needed their mother and that we could start over. Her parents backed her up, saying it was best for all of us. I laughed. I could not help it. You are here for my father's money, I told her, looking straight at her. If you were here for the kids, you would have shown up in the last few months. But you did not, did you? Because they are not your priority. Laura pretended to be offended, but I knew I had hit the nail on the head. She tried to keep her composure as she vehemently denied my accusation. I cannot believe you are judging me like this, David. I am here for you, for the kids, for what we built together. I laughed, but this time not out of nerves, but out of disbelief. What we built together. Laura, you walked out of my life and left the kids because I decided to take care of my father. You gave me an ultimatum and forced me to choose. Now, suddenly, you say you miss our family. Let us be honest, what you want is money. The discomfort was evident. Her parents, who were always experts at manipulation, started speaking for her. Her mother, with a condescending tone, said, David, we understand you are hurt, but think about it. The kids need stability, and the best way to get it is for you two to be back together. Besides, Laura has also suffered during this time apart. Give her a chance to rebuild this. I stood my ground, looking directly at Laura. The kids have stability. They have a father who is present in their lives. The only instability here is caused by you. Laura started crying, grabbing my hands as if trying to move me. Please, David. I made mistakes. I was lost and confused, but I want to come back. I want to make this work. I took a deep breath, looked at her parents, and then directly at her. You want to come back because you found out about my father's inheritance. If he really had left everything to charity, I doubt you would be here right now. Am I wrong? She hesitated but could not answer. Her silence was all I needed to hear. I gently let go of her hands and said, Laura, I do not want you back. I do not want you coming around for money. You did not want the kids before, and now you think you can just walk into their lives like nothing happened. It is not going to happen. She stood paralyzed, but soon her expression changed from pleading to anger. You think you can just discard me like this? You have no right to keep me away from the kids. I am their mother. That was when things changed. Laura started raising her voice, and her parents, visibly uncomfortable, tried to calm her down. I stood firm, reminding her that she had signed the divorce papers and agreed to give up custody without a fight. You gave up the kids, Laura. You had the chance to fight for them, but you did not. Now it is too late. The following days were chaotic. Laura started showing up at the kids' school, trying to take them without my authorization. I had already alerted the school administrators about the situation, and she was denied access several times. One day, she managed to convince Owen to talk to her at the entrance. When I arrived to pick them up, I found Owen crying, confused by the things she had told him. She said, you will not let her see us because you are mad at her, Owen told me through tears. She said she wants to be with us, but you will not let her. Is it true, Dad? I knelt beside him, trying to find the right words. Owen, I would never stop your mom from seeing you if it was good for you and Lily. But right now, your mom is here for the wrong reasons. I know it is hard to understand right now, but my job is to protect you and your sister. He was still confused, but he seemed to accept my explanation. Lily, being younger, did not show as much of an impact, but I knew it was only a matter of time before she started feeling the effects of this chaos. I spoke to my lawyer to see what could be done. He suggested supervising any contact between Laura and the kids, but he also warned me about the risk of her trying to manipulate the situation to demand custody or using the kids as leverage to ask for money. Following his advice, I decided to be proactive. I documented every attempt she made to interfere and made it clear that any meeting had to be under my supervision. This infuriated her even more, but I was determined to protect my children, not just physically but emotionally as well. Meanwhile, my life with the kids and my father's business continued to thrive. Taking over the company was a challenge, but rewarding. I started working with a team that deeply understood the industry, and together we managed to revitalize my father's legacy. Old clients returned, and new ones started showing up. I felt more connected to my father than ever, as if I were honoring his memory with every decision I made. The kids were also adapting. Even though they still asked about Laura occasionally, our new routine was bringing stability and happiness to our lives. I planned a trip for the summer, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time or resources for. The Bahamas seemed like the perfect destination to disconnect from everything and simply enjoy some time together. That was when I received a legal notice. Laura was trying to reopen the custody case, claiming I was alienating the children and that they needed a mother figure. My lawyer was prepared for this and assured me we had a solid case against any accusation. However, the thought of going back to court brought back old memories. I knew Laura was not doing this out of love for the children. She was trying to find a way to access the inheritance money. This only strengthened my resolve to keep my family safe. In the meantime, I continued investing my time and energy into my father's company and, more importantly, into the kids. Our bond was stronger than ever, and I knew that, no matter what Laura tried, we were prepared to face it together. The legal notice I received from Laura was the straw that broke the camel's back. She had hired a lawyer and was formally requesting a review of the children's custody. Her justification was that I was intentionally preventing the children's contact with their mother in a harmful way. It was an absurd accusation, but the fact that she was willing to make false claims in court only reinforced how selfish her intentions were. My lawyer, Paul, was an experienced and straightforward man. He assured me we had all the proof that I was not alienating anyone. We had records of her visits to the school, unsupervised encounters, and even testimonies from school employees about how she manipulated the kids. She does not have a solid case, he reassured me. But that does not mean she will not try to make your life difficult. The legal process was exhausting but not unexpected. Meanwhile, I stayed focused on the kids' routine and my father's company. My priority was ensuring that Owen and Lily had the least possible disruptions in their lives. I enrolled them in extracurricular activities to keep their minds occupied and help them create new happy memories. The first day in court was tense. Laura walked in with a dramatic attitude, accompanied by her parents. She seemed to have rehearsed every word with her lawyer. However, when asked about her absence following the divorce, her demeanor began to crumble. My lawyer pressed her to explain why she had not tried to visit or contact the children in the months following the divorce. I needed some time for myself, she said, trying to seem vulnerable. I was emotionally overwhelmed. Paul did not miss a beat. And during that time, you completely ignored your children. You did not call, you did not visit, you did not even send a message. She hesitated. I thought it would be better that way. The evidence was on our side. Paul presented proof that Laura only began trying to contact the children after learning about the inheritance. We also showed text messages from her to friends where she admitted her motivation was financial. The judge seemed unimpressed with her arguments. By the end of the initial hearing, it was clear the court was not inclined to grant joint custody. Laura stormed out, and her parents did not even try to hide their frustration. Despite the initial victory, the process was far from over. Laura kept trying to find loopholes, but every attempt seemed to strengthen our case even further. The hardest part was dealing with the emotional impact on Owen and Lily. Owen started having nightmares, fearing his mother might take him away. Lily, being younger, was more confused than worried, but she began asking difficult questions, like, "Why is Mommy mad at you?" I knew I needed to protect them, but also stay calm. "Mommy is trying to figure things out, Lily," I would say, trying to soften the situation. "But you do not have to worry. Daddy is here to take care of you." Between hearings, life went on. My work at my father's company kept growing, and to my surprise, I started finding an unexpected pleasure in running it. I never imagined that one day I would take over that business, but now I felt like I was connecting important parts of my life, my family, my past, and my future. The kids also seemed to thrive despite the situation with Laura. They loved spending time at the company office, especially Owen, who showed an interest in learning about his grandfather's work. This filled my heart with pride, and I knew my father would have been happy to see it. The final trial arrived. Laura made her last attempt, saying she wanted what was best for the children. It was an emotional but empty speech. When my lawyer presented the timeline of her behavior and lack of involvement over the past months, it became clear to everyone that her intentions were not genuine. The judge ruled in my favor, maintaining my sole custody of the children. Laura was granted supervised visits, but only under strict conditions. The decision was a relief, but also a burden. I knew she would not give up so easily. Following the decision, Laura tried to confront me in the courthouse parking lot. She was furious. "You think you won, David? This is not over. I will get what is mine one way or another." I took a deep breath and looked her straight in the eye. "Laura, what you lost was not my fault or the court's fault. You lost it because you made decisions based on greed, not love. The kids deserve better than that." She walked away, but her words echoed in my mind. I knew she might try other ways to interfere, but I was determined to protect my family, whatever the cost. After the court's decision, things finally began to stabilize. Laura stopped showing up unexpectedly or causing direct problems, but I knew her absence did not mean she had completely given up. My lawyer, Paul, recommended that I stay vigilant against any attempt she might make to get close, especially to the kids. I followed his advice and continued documenting everything. Meanwhile, our routine at home flourished. My father's company was getting stronger, and I felt more comfortable in my leadership role. Owen and Lily were thriving in school, participating in extracurricular activities. For the first time in months, they seemed genuinely happy. I decided it was time to follow through on the trip I had promised them. I planned a vacation to the Bahamas, something I knew they would love. The trip was transformative. Seeing the smile on Owen's face as he played in the sand, and hearing Lily's laughter as she ran through the waves, was all I needed to reaffirm that I was on the right path. Laura's absence was noticeable, of course, but in a way that brought peace, not sadness. I realized that our best moments were now defined by genuine love and security, without the constant weight of conflict. Upon returning home, I was surprised by an unexpected visitor. Laura was standing in front of the house, holding flowers and wearing a smile I recognized as fake. Owen and Lily were in the car with me, and when they saw her, their reactions were mixed. Lily seemed excited, while Owen, more aware, seemed hesitant. I asked the kids to wait in the car while I approached her. "What are you doing here, Laura?" I asked. "David, please, do not be rude. I just wanted to visit the kids. I know I have not been the best mother, but I want to change that. I want them to see me as someone present in their lives." I sighed but decided to allow the visit, supervising it closely. She played with the kids in the backyard for about an hour, but her attention seemed more focused on me than on them. When the kids went inside to get something, she finally revealed the real reason for her visit. "David, we can try again. For the family, for the kids. I still love you." I laughed, incredulous. "Laura, this has nothing to do with love or family. This is about money. You never showed up before my father's inheritance, and now you want me to believe you are here for another reason? No, the kids are happy, they are safe, and that is all that matters." She tried to argue, but I was firm. "You missed your chance, Laura. There is no room for you in my life beyond what the court determined. If you really care about the kids, focus on rebuilding your relationship with them. But between us, there is nothing else." She left crying, but I did not feel guilty. I did what was necessary to protect my children and my well-being. The following weeks were quiet, but I knew Laura was up to something. I found out she had consulted with lawyers, probably to challenge the custody agreement again or even seek a piece of the inheritance. Fortunately, Paul was always one step ahead. He strengthened our legal protections, ensuring that any attempt by her to start a new process was quickly dismissed. Over time, her attempts began to decrease. I realized that, without any legal or emotional loophole to manipulate, she was finally backing away. But I never completely let my guard down. Little by little, life took a new direction. The company grew, becoming a bigger business than my father could have ever imagined. I decided to use some of the profits to help other local families, something I knew my father would have supported. This gave me a sense of purpose, as if I were continuing his legacy in a meaningful way. Owen and Lily were also growing up fast. Owen started showing an interest in the family business, which filled my heart with pride, while Lily loved listening to stories about her grandfather. I made sure to preserve his memory in our lives, keeping the house full of photos and memories. Comment. Hey everyone, I wanted to share a few thoughts after this story really hit home for me. Setting clear boundaries in relationships has taught me how important self-respect truly is, and I hope you take a moment to reflect on that, too. When we show genuine kindness to our family, especially during tough times, it strengthens the bonds that matter most. Taking full responsibility for our kids means putting their emotional safety first, no matter what. Healing doesn't happen overnight, but choosing peace over constant conflict is a powerful step forward. I encourage you to look at your own life and ask yourself where you can create more calm and stability. Remember, true love shows up through actions, not just words when it's convenient. You have the strength to build a life filled with real connection and integrity. Let this remind you that prioritizing your well-being and your children's future is never selfish. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.